Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 3 of asking God for my assignments and accepting and receiving those assignments and trying to achieve those assignments. Today, I'm going to share with you my experience, an experience I called visiting churches. So in my second year of the transformation, and what I've come to know as called a paradigm shift. In my sobriety, I was 2 years in, and I wanted to go to church. I wanted a church home, and I was living in a little small town I had never lived in before, and I didn't really know where to go. So I did the procedure of Psalm 100, 4 through 6, of praising God's name and giving thanks, and then asking for an assignment. But this day I asked God, and I know I have mixed feelings about how God will enter into a covenant with you, but let's just say I made God a promise that anyone that invited me to their church, that I would go. I didn't take it lightly. If someone invited me to their church, I thought it was interesting to note that when someone invites you to their church, there's all this psychic debris, if you will, that comes up. Me talking myself out of, that's probably nice, and it'd probably be a good service, but it's probably not for me. Or, well, I don't know, how would it be? Where would I sit? Or, does service start right at 11, or am I going to be coming in late? Does it start at 10:45? Or just all kinds of excuses, and things, a cascade of reasons why I probably shouldn't go. But I had made this promise, and in a year, I don't know how many I visited, but it was at least 14 or 15 different churches, and all walks of them. From churches with no music, to churches with lots of different instruments, to churches that apparently there's people that go to church that last until about 2 or 3 in the afternoon sometimes, and but I experienced that. I got to go and enjoy that. Also, churches where they lay hands on you and speak in tongues. Churches with 800 members, churches with 8 members. I went to all sorts of churches, and the perspective that I got from that, because I guess I should mention I was raised in the Delta, and I was raised in a particular church, and I pretty much went to that church. And when I was in Indianola, I would go to another church, either my grandparents, the Baptist church there, or the Episcopal church. So I just, if you counted the churches that I'd been to prior to this experience, you could do it on one hand. And so I wanted to know, how are other people worshiping? What's different about it? What do they do differently? And again, I made this, looking back, as 7 or 8 years ago, it's kind of silly, but I had a conversation with God, and I said, God, you have endless resources. You can get me an invite. Whatever church you want me to go to, send out an invite, and I'll go. And I did. I didn't take it lightly, and I had people from all different areas of my life invite me, from coworkers to people at the. I remember at the electric department, a lady bragging on her church, and I never would invite myself, and I do think that's odd too, which maybe gives some uh, advice here, because I ran into people that would brag on their church, but they never invited me. And I thought that was odd, and particularly because of the covenant I had made in my own mind with God to go to any church that invites me. And so I'd be talking to someone, and they'd be talking about how good their church was, how good their pastor and the message was, and the people there. And then, never you should come. Or we have this, or this luncheon, or this Wednesday night thing. You should come to that. We'd love to see you there. But I was invited to I can't remember. It was more than 14, 15. I remember when I was going to the 14th or 15th one, I was thinking, well, there's only 52 Sundays in a year. So I max out at 52, I guess. But this led me to, when I did find my church home, I had much more of a perspective to base it on. Therefore, I was a more deeply convicted member of that church, deeply committed, because I had selected it for a rainbow of reasons, not just, hey, they've got good childcare, or this or that. It was based on many different criteria and many different things that I had come to enjoy or notice that inspired me or touched my spirit particularly in a unique way. And I wanted those elements in wherever my church home was. And so I selected my church home there. And when I moved again, I carried that perspective with me to when I visited 3 or 4 churches in the new area, in the new town. It was easy for me to discern which one spoke to me the most. And I particularly I have chosen to be Methodist because of many different reasons. The first one that sparked my attention was the 2,500 hymns or something written by because I'm a songwriter, so it's like, wait, they wrote 2,500 hymns, the Wesley brothers. Yeah, but there's several other reasons. Their connectivity, the methodical praise and worship and things. It's but particularly the connectivity, how and it may be true in other denominations as well, but the Methodists to me seem to want to worship together and then connect in smaller groups doing other ministries and other things, so they really form a bond where you don't just that person because you see them and they sit in that seat in the pew. You know that person. You actually maybe know something that's going on in their life right then. So that's my Methodist pitch there. Okay, choose it if you want to, or try it out anyway. I officially invite you to visit the nearest Methodist church. Try to plug in. But yeah, the accepting an assignment of visiting churches, if I got an invite, was such it was out of the comfort zone for me at that time, and that's I was fearful of it, and that's exactly why I knew I should do it, because God doesn't normally motivate me with fear. So I was fearful of it, and I thought visiting God's houses it's not going to hurt me. I made some wonderful friends. I heard some wonderful sermons. I got a vast perspective of how other people worship and all the different walks of worship. I'm quite convinced that they're all meeting in the same, for the same holy name. Everyone's worshiping God. So it becomes like, what particular speaks to me the most? Well, if you haven't tried 15 or different flavors, you don't know which one you like best. So I would encourage you to get a perspective. I would even encourage ministers and pastors to go to visit another church of another denomination on a Sunday off, so you can get a perspective. That's what I gained, was a perspective. And in the future, my choosing of a church did not, the reasons I chose a church was different after that day, from then on. So also, side note, if you love your church, invite. Anytime you meet someone, got a good energy, maybe they're in a bad spot. If you can bring up God's name, or even if not, if you can just tell someone's lonely and you say, hey, you should come to our church. Invite them. I mean, go further. Go pick them up. Say, oh, you don't have a car right now and you're lonely. I will come pick you up on Sunday. You can come to church with us. We're having a picnic this week, or you'll enjoy it. We have coffee and donuts. I mean, I've mentioned in another video how coffee and breakfast will catch a fish. It will get people to come in to the church. So briefly, there's my visiting churches, the covenant I've made. I made God a promise that I would go to any church that one of His people invited me to. So invite people, and go to another church. You got a best friend that goes to another denomination, another church. Go visit their church with them. At the end of the service, say, "Okay, now it's your turn to come visit my church with me." You'll grow to be better friends. Okay, that's all for today. I think I didn't want to disappoint my fans. Have to keep it fresh. But I've got lots more to discuss, so I'll be back with other videos. Thanks. I don't know if I said I'm Andrew. It's nice to meet you. This is your first video.